Dunga seya da digi tuvyalaya tablam tang 저기 지다 저기 dunga delaya chi kingi ane 중화시 투베 kingi ane dunga yoda 지게 류기 dunga 되네기 나셈 삼로 당당에 돈에 마리베도 dunga yo야시 dunga yo야데 ane 용다들 니제 안직 디기들이야 치 ane 지기 튕겨다 되네기 돈에 하는 아줄래 디기 투야 지다 난 삼로 따위 돈에 디기 투다 니여바시 나디나네 동아여 유조디 가르스나 나 삼로 따다 마리바디 다 삼로 돈에 규차고래 디나신 디기 두여기 유조디다 조 나 삼로 돈에 두여기 차고로 디네자 당아주 동아세야다 디기 두여기 탑람디 나 삼로 간스 땅고그래 삼로 당나 땅곰 야 안에지기 니발 마서 차 땅나 간스 땅고래세 다 두수시에세 내가서 디고래 네 슈고로 와다.
Good morning. All of us want to attain a state freed of problems and difficulties, a state of lasting, stable happiness. And when we look at our lived experiences, we come to recognize that both our happiness and our problems, they come about independent on causes. They do not but just befall us, they do not arise causelessly, but come about independent on causes. And these causes can be both external, so something to do with the material, physical world, or internal, the mental world, the world of consciousness. So therefore, to overcome problems and attain happiness, we can approach in these two directions, dealing with the material, physical world, as well as dealing with the inner mental world. And of these two, the one which is significantly more powerful and influential is the internal, the transforming the mind. Through transforming the mind, we can eradicate all forms of problems and attain a state of lasting happiness. So how to eradicate the mind is the focus of the teachings of the Buddha and what we have been looking at here.
Bendigo samlo nyamlenche samlo gyuwa tawe telaya ane nga zuki ten khepar chenchi kukores jisade ten khepar chen sede Bendigo ten telaya nga zo samlo kom kanis kemna gyab tuye ki nyuba chik tenchi kukores dine sa nga zuki dewi ten sangpo sede dan nyamlenche ki samlo tayo kom jaya ki ten yaksho di dewi ten dires jisade dewi ten di data nga ranzo liya top the rounds with leading to the David in Lagores, then answer the Yodi Parage. That in the Yodi Banzada, David in Delia, Anzuki Yodi Betelia, and the Kawa to Yat and Tipong Kirup Chedi, that in the show or Mother Chema chickens in it, dying at Logic Jenny, Jema chickens and Shabaina, and the Jeha Marabach Parachina, and the Shison by Na, and the Manzolo Gores, the names on the Kawa Chima, Tarbada, Tamji Kimbo, Tag. 규야보사 투에기 땡디 다등아서 켜바체 예리 바래 디네자 다데는 아주 고급 유대 다데디 냠는 제고레스 지산 제마지 람나 게디시 녜바요 말 시원이 다 쳐바래 교시에 되는 교고 다냐냐냐 루고레스 디네자 녜바스카요 말 지나 다데는 바 두치는 냠는 제고레스 하지 디시 이슈 아주 그승이 디시 직슈로와
Through that reflection, one comes to recognize the need to transform our mind, transform our way of thinking. And the way to do this is through meditation based on knowledge. But in order to meditate and gather knowledge, one requires an excellent basis. And that is something that we all have attained, this remarkable, precious human rebirth. So we looked at this precious human rebirth, and in particular, its quality of this excellent intelligence, the remarkable human intelligence, which has the capacity to radically transform itself, develop itself to a state freed of suffering. So recognizing that we have achieved this state, this precious human rebirth, we then need to turn our attention to fulfill its potential. Now is the time to do so. I cannot allow the confusion or ignorance to lull me into a sense that I have time, that I can delay this process of mental development, of mental transformation, that I can delay applying myself to this until better days, until I'm less busy or particular projects and tasks are completed. Because this life is finite. It will end. It will definitely end. And moreover, we have no way of saying with any certainty when this life will end or in what manner. This remains unknown. So those two reflections together, the preciousness of our opportunity, but that it is finite and its duration is indefinite, this spurs us to make the most of this life. Moreover, we look at our conditions. We have good intelligence, we have all the internal capacities, and we've met the teachings. There's nothing stopping us other than habitual tendencies. So now is the time to apply ourselves.
다 된del이야 냠네디 안다데 마제바이나 아니 제마제오지마스네 게디싱해 봐요 마데 제롱 마제바 시송바네 경원하기에 삼제 안다된 지긴 선배기 듬바디 기고고리에 시거와 다데네 아니 마제바이나 아니 가르제거리 람나 안 용가르서 왔으나 제상아 저기 되비를 유자다다 변조다 지기 소수니 니도던 코로간에 수업에네 땡 시디급을 가해요 말했어. 진짜 차상 샤샤 줘야 돼서. 진짜 다 케르님도 케르야 돼 가려서는 개와된 디버스야 돼 케르고. 진짜 소소 개와 같이 소르사르면 디케르야 요래서. 진짜 개와 사샤바디 케르바이나 개위기 디기 제보디 안 개와 치마이나 디기 주비야 땡야고 토야 디기 주비야 디네 개위 냠는지야 최지야 고브라야 냠는지야 언두스는라고 그래서 디네 인자 만줄에 케르도 개와디 케르요 바인자 가르스는 아주 시르도 류디 샤샤 주고 지상 아주 그 셈디 주고 어레 지상 아주 그 다데 개외 자와 같이 좀나 셈기 곰지도 셈들이야 뉴버 개외자 뉴버샤고 지사 디님도 셈디가 와트네 개발리고 어레 지사 디 마음바란 디기다 아주 개와 치마이나 디기 주비아레 안데 지 냠는지야레 디네 달바다 탐지기 먹고 봐 타냐 줘야 돼 디개와디레 지사데 개와디 다든 싸우고 김센디레 해서제 다 김자로 도스네 먼저 쉬루와 하사디네 쉬우제
These foundational meditations upon which all one's spiritual practice is based is recognizing this remarkable opportunity that we have, this human rebirth with excellent conditions and intelligence. But that this is finite, it will come to an end. So if I do not apply myself now to transforming my mind, when will I do so? Can I really have any certainty that the conditions will be better tomorrow than today? Can I have any certainty that my life will be more amenable to applying myself to spiritual development next week as opposed to right now? So therefore, I must make best use of this opportunity now whilst I have it. And moreover, in the reflection that this life is finite, we come to the recognition that so much of what I've strived for in this life, I will have to leave behind. All the time and energy that was put into relationships, whilst important, those relationships will all be left behind. All my reputation and influence and prestige that I've built up in society, that will all be left behind. And my possessions, even those with cherished memories associated with them, they will all be left behind. Our body, this body that we've looked after, so this will too be left behind. It's just our consciousness, our continuum, that will travel from this life to the next. When we breathe out our final breath in this life, the very next will be in a new life, in a new body. And all that will travel is our consciousness, accompanied by our varied karmic imprints. And it's those karmic imprints which will determine both the direction of our birth, where we will be born, in what circumstances, as well as the conditions that we have in that rebirth. So with this recognition too, then the determination to ensure that we accumulate virtue, extensive virtue, arises, because it's the accumulation of virtue that will ensure good rebirth with excellent conditions for ongoing spiritual development, as well as the deep desire to continue with our path of spiritual development.
다디네기 두 삼당고래세 다디네 가르쳐버렸습니다. 냠랭군이 셔야돼 두 가르쳐버렸는데 권조섬이야 잠루셔고래세 다 잠루셔세도 딱 수수기 저기 딱 동아 용다디기 파삼다 다 라다 셴다 차사 다디네기 동 코발이 기비 동아디네 용구도와 지산다 동아딜레다 타고도와 선배 삼로식다 다 동아딜레 타고는 딜레 교비기 니버드 술로 요래세도다 마점녀 권조섬버들 요래세베다 이시장 말하지 이시셔야들이 제대 잠루셔 다 잠녀 권조섬 여바자다 잠루 다 산지군주기 안주야 다 삼로 디니스 땅고르게요 네 디기주야 다 동아탈 삼로 디네 검고르에 손야데 가르스네다 침발이나 안조 안에 지과소래 가서 침가세 지 안도 손와래 침바다 지가 마침발레 뭐 소주바 네 로엠다 주인다 온도시네 안디지 안디가라 안 창동아 세 팀가 된팀가디도 시네 김발바 두송 디마 냠네 제고래서 디삼당고래서 나 랍중리나 안딜리디가야든 내 마와여바제 두시네 나 내가 본 두신 대소야 소수기 뒤쇠다 안데니게 바보 두시네 야네야 두삼당 공고래서제 온도시 송 안딜레 다 뒤수레도니 양체에서 뒤상보다 되네 양네 양도 고합다 균체네 안테바침비 소종 야라게바디 아니 야라 안도신 랭고레스 딜렌체나 곰냠네 도시고레스 도시네 다 냠네 삼다 냠네 제산 도시고레스 송말이다 가상어도 다 디가 디엔체 슈차바레
Moreover, we looked at then that those initial meditations on the precious human rebirth and its impermanence is the foundation to turn us to strive in the cultivation of the minds of the Dharma. And then we looked at the actual minds that one cultivates. And this starts with refuge. But before even going for refuge, one reminds oneself or reflects again on the sufferings of samsara, those that have befallen us and potentially await us, and those that all other beings are also suffering. And we turn then we look to who can guide us to gain protection from such suffering. That is the three jewels. The three jewels can guide us in how we develop our mind so as to attain freedom from all forms of suffering. And moreover, yesterday we looked at that as part of the branches of training, one is encouraged to live in accordance with vows. So there are the vows of the ordained and the non-ordained. And the vows of the non-ordained include the five primary vows of abandoning killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and intoxicants. And moreover, there is also encouragement that when one has the opportunity to take the 8 Mahayana precepts. So this is as far as we looked yesterday, the 8th verse.
아다는 저기 삼다다데 곰접시데 당은 저 쇼베 바지기 지라네 단 지게 두시는 잠도 삼다다 되네게다 라셴데 둔조이나데 미나데 다른 소식이 마타비게 지기 둔조 리글리아 자소나 되네게 지 트릭라 조르바다 되네도 삼다다 강하게 라신 되네 자되네로 좀 되네 강하래서 되레다 타고구도 되레 타고구도 마산데 타 미노선베게 삼노시다디 다 타야디 가네스 타그레라나 디 타베게 껴칸의 수요를 점점 건조스는 껴그레 선베 다 껴그레 선베게 다 이시제제 되네 점점 건조스는 교회게 산지기 탑람 가르쳐 바래선다 아니 네 교그레 선베게 도스치네 되네 인자다 녜sem전 탐제다 소소나 코요 동안들라 타고도 선베 디 된다는 게 냠는 지긴세 군로디 데니시 삼다제 아니 디토네 당이 룽아 있음 요건에 다 산지게 랍제디 가르쳐서는 지 녀주 동보 동보를 소만 자당에 룽아 있음 요건에 셴랴 안지 셈전 소죠 바다 안지 현지 자라 구마고와다 로임라 소바다 안지 주 첨보체 라소바 온도시네 창동야 라서바다 되는 미스여바 라서바다 대소 대자와기네 지금에 선배기 내내게 삼로다야지 다 내내게 아 저기 주름가 송어야 돼서 송세디서 삼로나게 디삼고 그래서다 삼로디 내내게 지금에 선배 삼로디 여되어 있나 되는 류가 줘봐들 주고 말했디 용고 말해서 제가 누시네 삼당고 그래서 디 삼로데 야네 야도 야시 따야래 제래 아니 디가 안다 주시 다 제야 김바나 비제오 지투야디 디레스 안디네 다 디네게 삼다데 가서 rabjuda 김바데 니가 제오르다 이네 김발디 디레스 다 디네 안디가라 주시 레듀칼라 다야 지게 랑은 지부 많이 봐 샘전 탐제 동안에 자고도와 델레교빈 샘전 탐제 동안 교빈 니바 술레권 잡녀권 줬으면 요그레 샘비 이제 잡르제야다 안디네 샘전 탐제 샘전 탐제 동안 자고 지사 상계단 전주선바 탐제기 아니 동안 대외치도 로바 냠는 제바나 ing이야 샘전 탐제도 동안 세외치도 샘전 탐제 상요고바 토바 지긴 세비기 군로 전주 샘지 군내 라제 데네 파진 줄에 냠는 지긴 세비 삼다 도시네 타바침비 소종 렌제 데네스 지긴 세비 삼로데 도시네 샘전 탐제 상요고바 토바 쇼 샘비 삼로시다 디우도네 메디레 샘전 탐제 상요고바 토비 치도다 진바다 추점나 세비냠만 가다시노 차사 디던다 이야 샘비 도시네 삼당고 그래서 당아주 냠는 제선 삼로 당단 디레 디네 제베 삼다나 지다 니다도 제드네 삼로데 야세 야네 야도 제형어 소르다 아니 삼로 뉴베 체체 두고라 디네게 뉴베 체체로도 아니 야게 두고라 디네 장아도 난 냠는 제고야 돼 디네 세세데 다 삼당타데 디네레스 가상아도 돌디로지 아두스에
Further, when we were looking at the 8th verse yesterday, the way to engage in following the recommendations from the Buddha would be when you wake up in the morning to turn your mind towards refuge, turn your mind towards the three jewels. And this so in the expression of turning your mind towards the three jewels, it hopefully makes it clear that one should have a genuine attitude of refuge rather than merely reciting a refuge formula, reciting a particular a verse. So to turn one's mind, this refers to that one generates a deep and sincere wish to turn to the three jewels. And this has two components. The first is the recollection on the sufferings that abound within samsara. And there we can recall both our own suffering experiences, those that we have experienced and therefore we know for certain we never want to experience, and those that we observe in the world, both amongst humans as well as, for example, animals. And we can think about the helpless position animals find themselves in, that especially those in the wild. We can think of the fish in the ocean, who are always in danger of meeting a fish that's that bit bigger than them, and therefore will consume them, eat them alive. And so thinking about the sufferings of samsara that you yourself have experienced and other beings are experiencing right now, the wish will naturally arise, I never want to suffer like this again or in the ways that they are. Therefore, I turn towards the three jewels, because it's through following the guidance of the teachings that I can transform my mind and thereby gain freedom from the suffering I am experiencing or the suffering that could possibly be experienced. In this way, gain complete freedom from suffering. So this then is a basis to turn towards the three jewels, conjoined with the recognition that their guidance will lead us to cultivate a state of freedom within. And thereafter, one reflects, in order, at the very least, I will not create further causes for suffering, for myself or for others. And therefore, I commit, once again, to abandoning non-virtues such as killing and stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and intoxicants. So the 5 vows of the non-ordained, which are similar to the vows, the basis of the vows that the ordained have as well. So thereby, one generates a determination. For example, I will not kill today. I will not steal today, and so forth. And one does so through reflecting on the faults that will befall one if one does so, the suffering that one oneself will experience, as well as the harm one brings to others. So here one is cultivating the practice of ethics, ethical restraint, which is a mental attitude, a determination based on reasons not to engage in harmful behavior. And even though one may feel that naturally one will not incur or engage in such activities, it's important to strengthen this mind, because the stronger it is within us, the deeper it is within us, the more it is a part of us. And therefore, if one is ever faced with the opportunity where one could be convinced that, oh, maybe in this case no one will know or I'd get a great benefit, one will rather refrain from harmful behavior. So therefore, one keeps generating this ethical outlook. And moreover, one can add to one's reflection that others are suffering in the same way, yet they are completely lost and confused. They do not know what are the causes of suffering, the causes of happiness. They require guidance. Just like I have received, they too require guidance in how to cultivate the causes of happiness and abandon those that would lead to suffering. Therefore, I have to develop myself spiritually so I can help other suffering mother sentient beings. And to do that, today, for example, today I have the opportunity to take the 8 Mahayana precepts. And I will live in accordance with these vows, following in the example of the great bodhisattvas. And I will strive in this way to generate bodhicitta and join the bodhisattvas as a fellow bodhisattva. So in reflecting in this way, one becomes ever more habituated to the need to generate bodhicitta and strive to become enlightened. And it's these reflections, these virtuous reflections, that one engages in again and again. This is the cultivation of virtue. It is the strengthening of our habituation to virtuous ways of thinking, making these virtuous ways of thinking ever more part of who we are, so that they arise spontaneously within us and guide us. So this then too we looked at yesterday.
Nadin ma shue de na labar jidin ni su song je be nyu gyur tongwa damba nam ji me je shir shin san kye ji me be ne le li la ne ane den na lo na leksa.
So continuing from where we concluded yesterday, at the end of the 8th verse into the 9th, particularly keeping them for the benefit of this and the next life. Holy beings look down on drinking and taking intoxicants. Therefore, friends, you too should see it as beneath you, and it would be excellent if you turned away completely from such activities. Otherwise, you will eventually encounter problems and difficulties.
Labar jidin ni so song ji be se de dang ju jidin ni se de da hei jidin da mi jidin sa ko ba da ngang ju ge da jidin ni se de yang ji dian zhuo da ane ga so re ngang zhuo se de xue shu re bi jidin ni se yang ji ge dian ni ge ji da jidin ni ngang zhuo da dian zhuo le ya jie wa che ba de ni su sung ji be se de dian ma jie wa de dian ma ne che de le ma thar ba ji pa jin due sung se jin due ba sa ji go de le ma thar ba ji ne due ba de ka le ji go se ne ju ge nyo mo ba di ba se be nyo mo be wang gi du she de le ngan ba sa ji an di che ne an ma thar ba ji ko wa le ne due go re es da de ne ji ni su de ne due de di re es or da.
So the final line in the 8th verse, we can change the translation. Let's see how to do something like, you're good at it. So I'll be very rough and not so clear, but it's okay, the explanation will be clear. So particularly engaging in virtue, particularly engaging in relation to the higher realms and lower realms, something like that. which the meaning, so Geshe's explanation, is that in particular we need to turn away from non-virtue, which leads to rebirth in the lower realms, and strive in virtue, which leads to higher realms. Because the Tibetan literally says, in particular, the world two, and then verbs of both holding or guarding and engaging. So this expression of the two worlds can refer to this and the next life, or it can refer to the higher and lower realms. So here we take it to mean the higher and lower realms, and these both come about in dependence on karma.
And these both
So therefore, the way that it should be understood now is that for the higher and lower realms come about in dependence on the karma that we accumulate. Therefore, we need to accumulate virtue. The other way to interpret the same terminology would be in relation to this and future lives. So, for example, the suffering that we experience in this and future lives comes about in dependence on the non-virtuous karma we accumulate under the influence of our afflicted minds. And therefore, we should guard from engaging in non-virtue.
Bendigo sungwa cheba, Bendigo never cheba di, ane sushi horsene, ane leda nyomo badi chigo rejere. Chesada tini nyomo badi chigo zada, de lakpara se di dinga zu nyegyur di ma, nyegyur tungwa damba nambi me se de, nyegyur tungwa se de, danga zu chang tungwa di chigo re. Chesada chang tungwa korong ra di digbas kaya ma re de, chang tungwa yodo karcha horsene, sem jamba timbu me ba, ane sem me chike, jamba timbu me ba de charugo res. Chesada jamba timbu me di yagdu 당 누가 용거래 야가 용거래서 랭이 남바 여와 체투게 셰랍디 매가 자르고 그래서 제가 창동도 고심 버스 가소래 잠바팀 매바다 랭이 남의 집에 셰랍 세부 매바 자용으로 제가 딘데 동도 안에 가시 오래서는 창동의 원게 넘윤미 안에시게 야고심이네 창동도 잠바팀보다 직되는 매도 아니야 샘제 샤레 소주 제바 용거래 안 제 구마고와 용거래 샤는 뇌스 제바 용거래 안도선 차사도선의 용거래 제자디 창두위 견제 디기 셰바 템보 안 레게 넘버 제바 매바 잼바진 냠 디견제는 안 지게 샤야 차와 제바 뇌바 제바데 뇨모바 두스게는 안 된디기 게에서는 량아바 사바 되네 안 지딩게 지딩일이야 안 지게 계획이 량아바 사두고 되네 진짜 지텔은 이거래서 제가 긴 되는 신의 용거래서 시거래 뉴욕 통화해야 돼.
So then linking these two lines, the end of the 8th and the beginning of the 9th verses, however one takes this one line about these two worlds, whether it's referring to the suffering of this and future lives or the happier and lower migrations, these all come about in dependence on karma. And where suffering experiences are attained, either in as a human being or certainly in the lower realms, this comes about due to non-virtuous karma. And non-virtuous karma will be accumulated through the afflictions. And the strength or the arisal of the afflictions and the weakening of virtuous ways of thinking is greatly aided by the taking of intoxicants, by drinking and taking intoxicants. Because, for example, drinking alcohol, that in itself is not non-virtuous. The drinking of alcohol is not the problem. The problem is the effect of alcohol, in that it impacts our mindfulness, or we lose our mindfulness, we lose our awareness of our mental processes. And moreover, it destroys our wisdom or our capacity to use our intelligence. And thereby, the problems associated with alcohol, for example, other intoxicants, follow. It makes it so much more likely one will engage in non-virtuous behavior, conflict with others, lying, stealing, and so forth. And that is the fault of intoxicants. So therefore, being aware that the taking of intoxicants impedes our virtuous mind, particular wisdom and mindfulness, and thereby aids our afflictions and accumulation of non-virtue, this will lead to further suffering and possible falling into the lower realms in future rebirths.
저기 되지 kimbal야 tim가 송고래시 송로와의 tim가 제가 tim가 송고래시 때다 소초번에 디바 용거 샬래 뉴고래 내 현기 잘라고모고네 샬래 뉴고래 안에 지 로임 제베네 샬래 뉴고래 되네 주인시 고가다베네 샬래 뉴고래 디 바나 지기도 sabeda 띵원에 김제대 템바레 샤스 창동에디 소수동고라는 샬란뉴고 말디 디가 송고가 개미도 sempre 디니오시기로와 된 창동에도 소수랑 동고라는 샬란뉴고 말디 가시는 가고래 sempre 삼노나라 데네도 고용고로와 지난 데네 인자 창동에 코로나들 게 동고래 샬네직 뉴그 창코로나도 그두라도 뉴고 말데 니기 견제네 뺑한 소리야 내기 대샤 공도 아자 되는 때에 되는지 니기 녀모기 셰바디 대지 셰바나 셰바 템보 잠바 템보 메바체 레니게 남에 셰바디게 바지 바 템보 메바 차요도 안 디기 긴제네 녀모바게 녀모 원게 기요데 녀모바디 원게 되네 녀모바게 세베체라 되네 심제 소체바 용그레 안에 지금 로임 제바 용그레 안 주인 셰바 용그레 안에 고마고와 용그레 안 되네게 찾아 녀바디 녀모바기요 디원게다 량아 바사용도와 디네 인자 디네게 용하게 긴 첨부 인자 디자 고 동주고 말해서지 가고 김선을 디리에서 김선을 가고 김선으로 시고 송고르마
Of the five lay vows, those of not abandoning killing, abandoning stealing, abandoning lying, abandoning sexual misconduct, I think most people generally accept that this is non-virtuous behavior and is best abandoned. And that from doing so, harmful results will come to oneself because one committed harm towards others. So this is probably generally accepted throughout society. But alcohol is not seen so clearly. The faults of alcohol are not seen so clearly. So again, because one may well think, well, if I'm just having a drink, perhaps even on my own, what is the fault? So the problem with alcohol is, or intoxicants more broadly, is the impact it has on the mind. So it dulls the good qualities that we are trying to develop, such as a mindfulness or an awareness of our inner process, our awareness of our mind, as well as other good qualities such as our wisdom or our intelligence, our decision making. And as these good qualities become dulled, our afflictions readily arise, attachment, anger, pride, and so forth. And now with these dominant and the wholesome minds lost and confused, we engage in non-virtue. And therefore, alcohol or intoxicants are a gateway through which a lot of problems are created.
데니게 차동화들 데니게 녀모데 괜디게 용거래 디마세다 괜 가로 용거서네 차도 바이네 디기 소수 수불이야 나자다 되네기 연구를 해야다 아야지 되네기 라심바이나 잠바 제도도 소수게다 지 내가 상어로 상어디기 밀시에기 아니 쇼야기 내가 여봐 아니 아직 라신도 소수게 내가로지 내가디게 바제 마토바제 된다 튀셔줘야 내가 튀셔줘야 내가 여봐 아니 밀리아 기시를 시고는 아니 지양지 시고디게 있는 딱다 시 마토비게 꽤 제가 되네 인자다 저 소수게다 이제 수불이야 아니지 되네 교용바 마세 소수게 기시 시고디게 야보 시 마토비게 아니 소수게 시 먹어야 되게 파 시에는 상황쇼야 꽤 안 되네게 아니 지금 교연으로 좀 봐서는 망고 쉬운 거래서 되네자 남반남기 매세도 남반남이 장 통해야 돼 야보 찍어 말이 동교 말에서는 순고를 담바시도 당한 담바시도 지게 레년 넘버 체네 지 네베직 잔직 파가 당연히 야보릭이 냠는 제기 다치 냠는 제기 되네게 예보 담바시도 되네게 나두겠는데 담바시로 뒤속에다 두스네 창대기도 동교 말에 뒤도나 견디네데 연구를 지사 동교 말에서 두시는 순고를 해제 담바는 미매세야 돼 지난 미에세데 어디 아무 말에 라해서 가게에서 뒤로와 지난 디네자 다디디 배둑자래 디시가 미에세데 지난 디두스 견디네데 연구를 창동번에 노트디네데 쇼구를 디네자 디치교 말에 소소 개회 냠내체나 개와지 두고말 튀쇼주고를 지나다 개회 삼다나래 소소기 미시기 내가 제상 삼다나래 안직 요모베 제샹래 뇌세 삼다나래 창동을 되네 시년가 신부 쇼를 지나디 당보다 마동와 샤샤네 약쇼를 해서다
And moreover, through taking intoxicants, as one knows, one may harm oneself physically, either through accidents or if one engages excessively, really harm one's inner organs. And moreover, if one drinks at one's place of work, then other accidents and problems with one's employer are likely to follow. And furthermore, one's speech tends to be affected in rather a negative way. One can become quite argumentative. One can break confidences and tell things to others that you were sworn to secrecy on. So in these ways, one creates problems in terms of oneself directly and as well as in terms of the karma one's creating, and one harms others too. So it's for these reasons that holy beings look down on drinking and taking intoxicants. So the way we should further understand this first line in the 9th verse is that, so holy beings, here it's a very general term, we should understand it to mean those who are training in virtue, those who are training in virtue and abandoning non-virtue. So that's what holy beings refers to, and looking down on, we should understand that those who are training in virtue and abandoning virtue, they, through understanding the fault of alcohol and intoxicants, in other words, through using reasoning, they abandon drinking and taking intoxicants. So it's not looking down on as in looking down on those people who drink. Rather, it's for themselves. They have come to recognize that taking intoxicants is contrary to their desire for spiritual development, their desire to turn away from harmful behavior. So this is how we should understand, firstly, the term holy beings, those who are engaging in virtue or training in virtue, and looking down on that they see, based on reasons, that this isn't suitable behavior for themselves to engage in.
Some nala carrying and finishing that I channel the mango don't that rasim by the Dinekanga Yungo de Duston the guy or Marty Rasmussen the Denegan no Chimushu Marwas, is not rasim by Neda, not to show ready, temper of Chagido. That Duston when the Ramazin by Neda, not to show Yomar, Duston Agido, some big, some Chunguru. That is not the Ramazin budget. Jiggy, there's tumba the Jigor, or Ramasimba, there's tumba the Jigore, they don't have Jigores. In a careers, there's tuna, Digi draw the union in the Pajama church in Pa Mamutuya, the car who had the Capuchigor, then there's to just Mamma, don't you? Dinning in that, Dambone, 对是马东我下现在要说的说，就像对是东街盲目马东我就咱们下去对是东文的第个的该要嘛的是，以呢呀。当不的东呢，就是东的激动、激动，真的假学去怕，然后学的忙不动学入的是，就是的那张，的那的弄着用过的，其实的那张当不可能人家，有点马东吧是下班呢，的那个家长学是该要嘛的，我是说的马东当不可能的马东我下的也学的什么的。
Whilst I'm sure that you all can know the faults of being intoxicated, of being under the influence of drugs or intoxicated, that such the behavior that results from such a state is clearly harmful. This is quite clear. One may well think, though, that but maybe if I just partake a little bit, that's okay. Maybe just have a few drinks. And my mind I won't get drunk, and therefore I won't steal from others, I won't break confidence and so forth, so that maybe just a few drinks is okay. Well, on the one hand, this is true. Just having a sip, having a bit of the taste, this is not at all non-virtuous. The problem comes, though, that the reason for having just one drink or two drinks is because one enjoys the taste. And enjoying the taste, then it becomes quite likely one will have a bit more. And then when one has a bit more, now one's enjoying the feeling, because now one's mindfulness is being impacted, and one's becoming relaxed and de-stressed, then one's really enjoying it, and will have a bit more, and then the problems will come. So therefore the advice is it's best to avoid entirely.
내실 신상 규기 매비니 나가 내비니 레딜라네 땐도乱了 시도 제 대치스도 김센디네 인자서 다 창동바 되스 동바네 망보동쇼 데 망보동도 소수게 잠반냠 랭이지비 셰라티기 매바제 되네기 노트 망고 차네 되는지 차기도 와 김센디네 인자 다 신상 규에서에 가서 나신도 지단의 미 신상라는 동인지 원래거와 다데디 신상 세디 결혼 쳐라 대바여바 최딩이 dum바여바 내네 데네기 냠는 제가 dum바 되냐기 개와 주야다 디부pon야 그 dum바 되니 데니시 여칸지래서 신사세 딜라와 셈 데네기 개위쳐라 되냐기 dum바데 제도기 dum바여간 냠는 제가 림바 여칸 데니시래 데네인자 아니 메비네 세도다 저기 가서 메비네 라도 디 기부 담바남지 디야고 말해야 돼 릭디 마제네 창을 나서 봐 내게 마제 릭디 마제에서 마제네 야쇼레서 니 담베 네 메베 네 레라 레딜라 덴도 레나 덴도 로나 렉시드 기네 마제교 말해서 다 로나 렉스는 그 양교 로용 와서 로용의 야쇼레서 디 로나 렉라도 갈로스는 니마디네 둥구 여바 있나 다 봐마동 소라 니마 둥구여바나 로나 렉세다 니마 둥구여나 다 마동 바제 잠샤쇼스 다 니마네 둥구메네 디기네 마동 샤쇼스 돈다지 숨고 제가 디네자 도시네 니마 둥구여나 안다 디리네 봐 마동 안에 니마네 균 둥구메바나 자오기네 디린 동야 도시네 삼마다 사시 온도 숨고래.
The next two lines, therefore, friends, you too should see it as beneath you, and it would be excellent if you turned away completely from such activities. So here the term friends, we had this in the third line. It's generally a polite term to refer to someone as being, their face being physically attractive. Here it particularly refers to you friends who are seeking to spiritually develop, to transform your mind. So the advice is being addressed to such people, that for you it would be best to completely avoid intoxicants. And if you have partaken in the past, then it's best if you completely turn away from continuing to do so. And if you have not partaken in the past, then it would be excellent if you continued in this way.
Dine zada ko shin zabo ning ji wo sam da de ning ji wo yuan de ge chang tu gyo ma ning ji wo men dong da ji ge sem be o da dine song xia sa de sam da gyo ma dine ma re je za xin sa sa de chue de ye du mo yo ba nyam nen ji ge du mo yo ba an dine ge je yuan de le song go re je sam ba xin sa sa de su ge chue nyam nen de ye ge du ba da ji je ku no di pa xin yong o dine ge sam da du xie go re sa dine de song go re ma do.
Again, there's just emphasizing that the word I've translated as friends does not refer to those with attractive faces, because otherwise one may misinterpret and think that just those who have attractive faces should abstain from intoxicants, those who are perhaps a bit ugly, and then you can continue.
Gangla jebe la, gangla jebe la gin ser gangla jebe gi pusu dunga na chadu dewa na ya demi cha. Jeba se, jeba, long jeba se bali mendo sung dunga. Tane, gangla jebe pusu dunga na chadu dewa na ya demi cha. Dudan jebe gi kaze yue le nam
Continuing, otherwise you will eventually encounter problems and difficulties. Rely on restraint even when experiencing temporary happiness. Would appealing food not be thoroughly rejected by those who have come to know that it is mixed with poison?
지게 사야로다네 잘라이네 베주당 와서 강라 제비 푸수 동안 나서도 다당한 저기 지 베주지 롱제도 다디 내가 대어로다 기우로 지여베네 푸르 강하다 동안 주용교베나 디바 안에가 소래 베주당교 말해서 강라 제비 푸수 동안나 차도 대화나야 데미자 차도서 내가 프린스로와 내가 프린 대화를 기우로 지여베네 푸르 누기요베네 디 베주당교 말해서 So
in the final line in the 9th verse, there's a Tibetan word that's misspelt. So there are different ways, therefore, that you can take its meaning, because you have to kind of guess. So we'll change that 4th line, and then it's linking to the 10th verse. So again, something like enjoyments or resources or things you take pleasure in, relying on restraint when experiencing temporary happiness in relation to them. Otherwise, you will eventually encounter problems and difficulties. So taking the two lines together, it's a little easier for me in the moment to translate it like that. So rely on restraint even when experiencing temporary happiness in relation to your resources or the things you take pleasure in, things you take pleasure in. Otherwise, you will eventually encounter problems and difficulties.
Dene jige giura chede chal nyaka pren dewaru chede ba giura chede ro ade ma tone ane gazam jile geshi shede ma jone dene chubu yae gazam jo chubu shada dene chubu shone zingre ta dene shuri ta jide ne fusu dunga lero jele dunga lero wa andi mazeda dene gi ji chubu ja dene jide ane shukche che chordo an pa so jege suege nyanga yoro sobaina Ndi lenga basne kewa chima yana dunga nyoyagi dunga gyusagurwa jeza pusu dewa pusu dunga yobaina jeza nega pringa da skiwuro shobena di beshidan kyo marda di jele kanga chyoben zemgu res tambone di temmejasin bejema dan shade yashore ese.
So to explain these two lines then in the present context. So if you're having a drink with friends and you're having a good time, so in this way, you are engaging with your enjoyments or your resources, your pleasures, and and that you are experiencing some temporary happiness, having a good time with your friends. But then when you yourself or one of your friends has a drink too many, then the arguments start. And if they continue to having a drink, the arguments may well be followed by conflict. So this we can see. So therefore, it is important to also rely on restraint, even when experiencing temporary pleasures, temporary happiness.
And then 차도 대화나야 안 푸수 동호회는 로직이요 말해서 다들 아주 창을 봐 배자시르와 나 디나시 당한 저기 네 연구도와 변에 샘젤이야 강아마 모든 제머지야 연구로와 샘젤 바 나르셔 다장도 제머지야 연구도와 디네 제머지도 당한 저다 제머들 바 기우당 보로 지 내가 그러려 소술이야 지 대기로 가라라 기우로 지 연구로와 이네 디기 샘진들이야 강아테 둥아테 비기 데니기 레기 대보디 제마 마음바 소소 용고레스 제가 푸수 마음바는 소소래 강아 둥아 용고에 샘진 파절이야 강아까지 제바 나신 데니기 둥아디 마음바나 디 대보 나서 강아테 비 뒷바사고와 디 대보디 나서 마음바 용고레 푸르 둥아 일고레 소소래 내가 빌레 소소 제마데 베기우레 대바르 용고에 바네야 푸라 마음바나 소소래 강아 둥아 빠도메 바 용고 차고레 제가 디네 인자 두스네 레니게 넘버 3 다베나 데니기 내가 대화여반은 풀을 동화되는 용거반 디소야 지겨 말해서 보다. 네, 지바디 네, 시간이 지바래 돈다 대시 창을 잘 시에와 다제모를 잘 시고르게. 돈다데 가자나서.
Another illustration would be perhaps you playing with your pet and you're having a good time, and you may be playing a little bit rough, and you end up hurting it. So here you can see you're having a good time, you're playing with your pet, but perhaps especially if we think of a child playing with an animal, they may well be a bit too rough. And in this way, whilst one is enjoying, so this Tibetan word is like resources or enjoyment, so one's playing with what gives one pleasure. So one is experiencing temporary happiness, but because one is doing so without restraint, one ends up harming someone else, in this case one's pet, as well as not only causing suffering to another immediately, one is accumulating non-virtuous karma or negative karma that will cause suffering for oneself in the future.
디나신당 저기 내가 되게 여봐 풀에 동화 여봐 삼당에나 디나신 다디네 용도와 내가 사가나도와 샘체 마시겨냐로다 디네기 부스 마시바 직도 수여샤 선무여바제 안델야 안지 놈초수여제 데네마 루제네 바 그도 제치 소부전 데네가도 사디가블라 오다 샘제 가서샤 서버쇼 사인세드 디소수기 직보드 직나주기 다시 조녀비 기부로지 디기로 쉐도로 와다 다 롱디네기 롱주베데 내갑들라 디기도 용고래 류직 소수기 서로 이침바직다 당에서에서 세워서 디사인사도 이침바지다 한 도중요데 소수야당 신부도 세베 디기지 용고로와 이내야 델야 샘젠디 문에다 그 시요 말에 초보소 거의 소려야 되니까 초보지 강하가 좀 용고래 두섬단에 디지지비기 강아제비 둥아기 레anga 바사데 티부 둥아디 마오바나 소소라데 용고래스 제가 데니기 내가 소소래 롱주베칼 디기용한테 푸수 둥아 빠도 매바 용고래 제가 디술리디 지기요 말해서 원래
A further illustration is in some seafood restaurants. The clients can choose which fish or shellfish they want to eat, and then this being which is alive is taken from the tank and placed in a pot or a frying pan and cooked alive. So here, the person who's ordering this meal is doing so with joy and excitement. They are using their hard-earned money to eat something tasty and delicious, and in a way that they find quite appealing. So here they are not thinking beyond what they find immediately pleasurable. They're not at all thinking about the karmic results that will befall them, the suffering that will have to be experienced in future lives. So here we are being really encouraged to look beyond immediate gratification and think much further, much more long-term and more broadly.
용도와 내가 소소 디 견삼들 소소 바오 쉬우는 알로 전부 미샤상 따진 알로 전부 두 삼기 지 삼고라 삼배 소소리야지 지 소화 지 연구로 봐 이내 되게 바오지 되게 간sam질이야 지금 얘도 주야다 얘도 다야다 강하대야다 정강을 루야다 뭐 연구도 와 되게 당아서 두신의 통치수교 봐 다들 강라제나 내가 대화 인바는 푸도 누가야 세대 망보를 주도하다 가지고 되게 자체 못 되네 삼단 되네 진변에 디와 간에 있냐면은 뭐들 랍다 카드와 현재 지게 랍다 보고 사발이요도 갑려야 안 랍다 보고 gem바되게 빼고들야 지게 강아제네 지게 그다 말 강아제 중국도 하고 그거도 제모세제 부를 미션달라 강아 랍다 보고 사발이야 강아제 되네게 전에 근데 그 제다 잡주야다 그 도로디게 비주야다 되네 강아지 후티고 지상 코너도 디지도 간도 gem바이스 와치여서 코너도 디지다 gem모셔 디지주로 기우로 쳐거든 마음바나 아니 그 강아여바 디게다 간서 직전에 지기바 부 밤마디기 년도발라 시베나 년도부 주에게 팀다에 내가 여러봐 아니 코너도 랍다기 디네게 조어디 하고네 콘솔이야 네바다에게 강아용아 용으로 니메생아도 레기네고 셰반 소수게 샹려 네바다지 샹려 차워지고로 네바시고로 니 네바치도 디기 소수기 디바사베게 마오바나 동하기 되보디 나서 소소라 용고로 봐 제가 디네에서 내가 차도 소수기 디기로 처에네 풀에디 동하용고네 내가 디지 지겨 말해서 다 제가 디네게 내가 지겨 말해야 돼 아주 그 망불의 자유 되게 주어다. 장 망불 유지해야 돼.
There are so many illustrations in life where people do not think about the consequences of their behavior. There's consequences that may well be experienced in this very life, let alone thinking about karmic consequences to be experienced in future lives. So, for example, someone who's both got an aggressive personality and physical confidence, they may well easily engage in physical fights, standing up for themselves against small provocations and engaging in physical conflict. And they may do so many times, adding to their confidence until one fight doesn't go so well, or they finally get arrested. And so too with a lot of criminality. Someone thinks about the benefits of engaging in criminality, but not of the consequences that may well follow. Another example from schools is how older students may well bully newer students. They're bigger, they're stronger, they also know the school, so they have experience there, and then they can pick on and bully the younger students. They're having a good time, they think it's all just fun. But those smaller children, for them it's really quite awful. But if the teachers find out, the teachers will not accept that behavior. And then these bullies will be punished. So here, these are all illustrations that are easy to understand about not thinking about the consequences of one's behavior and not restraining one's mind from engaging in things that one finds pleasurable.
다 배를 뒤숭을 배라야 누구단 제비 카세 유래 남 군유 통어를 제바 군유 봉어를 제바 마통암 제사 칼라디 배지 유래 세드 발크 수교다 sob다다 인제 심도 거를 지어봐체 칼라나리아 두그로식 두뇌기 소라 년아요 류리 뇌게 din 두드 제셰베 칼라디 파다나 인조다 지사나 칼라스는 조다 심부신고할 때 이네 군이 봉아 제가 마통 차상 미수이나 세금 말로 왔지. 그래서는 디사바는 신부여의 인지고도 사는 신부를 이네 소소로 소라 년가다 끝나서 강아 지기요 받아 하고 수직이 통해 인지고 통고를 신부여네 수직에 세금 말로 왔어. 디가르스네 사바이네 젤이야 소소라 나자다 강아 지기요바 다 하고서 되네 자고 사교면도 와스 군지 뽕을 제가 마탕 뽕도 와스 진짜 디나신 지구지기하래 다들 내가 들려 소소리야 지기보다 차디 디기를 쇼베네 풀이야 소소리야 강아테디 지기요 말에 칼라두다 디비게 닌지버 신부요 바데 지구지기하래스 디나시 바래서
And the Lama Tsongkhapa gives an illustration. Would appealing food not be thoroughly rejected by those who have come to know that it is mixed with poison? So this is quite clear. If you are handed a meal that looks really tasty, it's got all your favorite ingredients, but you know it's been mixed with poison, very clear, you will not eat it. Or even if it's been made by a famous chef, you will not eat it. So likewise, we need to think with a broader perspective and be more aware of the consequences of our behavior.
나 돈다닝보데 가르시고레스네 제가 나한줄이야 내가 빌레 대화다 지게 네 지기 디기로지 툭툭이네 타두라 풀을 내외네 아니 지기래가 되지겨 말해서데 당한주게 샘제 소주 제배네 소주 지긴들이야 소술이야 소주인데 거부슈어래 니마 만주 충주가로 심제 지 자로다 부르스데 베셈래 기우러 쉬운도와 어디나 현대 지거와 되니기 딕부지기 용거를 때나 피푸스 동안 용거를 제가 소수 지겨 말해 소수 미자라 구마를 구베네 구니라디 갑라 당아구리라 송사 무예 베제 다여스비 데스 거부 용거를 푸수 아니 년도베 태알에서 보다 아니 소지 팀이야 아디메베 디비티 보용거야 푸수 개와 치마나 동아 용거를 되네 구마디게 지겨 말해서 근데 로염으로 제베네 이제 제왕지 착과를 제베네 내가 빌레 디기 여베네 푸수 강아지게 되지 지겨 말해서 지나디네 소주와 마진 발라바 미성와 줘봐 짐마와 아니 지긴 아주기 뉴욕 통화 차상이야 디자이어들도 와지 차상 지난 디수 차상 지겨 말해서 도나니 보디 디수고로 와다
The essence of what we're looking at here is that we need to be guided by a mature outlook and an outlook of a mature spiritual practitioner, which is someone who, using their knowledge and their wisdom based on that knowledge, will focus on the long-term results of what they are engaging in, and having the long-term results as their guide, and thereby letting go of immediate gratification. So it may feel good to respond to someone with a sharp comment, or it may feel good to respond with aggression, standing up tall and strong, or it may feel good, one may take pleasure in killing an annoying insect. But this is the way of thinking of someone who's spiritually immature. Rather, misuse our knowledge and our wisdom that has arisen based on that knowledge to be guided by the long-term results and thereby refrain from immediate gratification.
내내 자당한 조어로 저게 가르 순고에서는 될이야. 저기 대차 공로 나게 셴리아 체외 삼바 뇌베 삼바 이제서 안에 지금 먼저 동아요 규들이 삼로들이스. 지난 디메와 수고를 해야다. 다디메와 수다나 간에 수고를 라비오도 당보를 셴리아 능아 있으면 요건에 셴라 너와 지금에 삼백이다 셴리아 소주기메 준시기메 다리리 제베나 디르와 소주기메 준시기메 안에 로임지기메 안에 가서래 가서 구마구메 사다 안에 되니게 다 되니게 대수 용하게 냥하게 규 창득게 동메 사자 누신의 zem고래 디zem바이나 내서 제명도 안디도쇼 샬레 차와데 구마고야 되지 용말에스 디삼네 야네 양도 당고래서 디삼도 땅에 다되어서 뉴버치직 조수기 디스 용도 갑려야 되네 샘전 탐제 삼다 샘전 탐제 동화데 샘전 탐제기 되는 산주고 토바 지긴 샘배 삼다야다 되네에는 샘전 탐제기 된달 양이 진바 류가 이숨롱주 가리네 셴랴 당지 펜버 죽긴 샘배 삼는 두스 당고래스 되네 나 수림 소야데 디에 요르와 데는 쇠바 코미아시데 셴랴 잠바단 자와 코미데 셴기 녀바 제베나 소소 녀바지 파 콜랑이 메스 콜로 말아바지 콜이야 아니 잠바단 제유 토네 콜이야 아니 지 잠지게 토네 갑제주아 쇼르와다 잠지게 토네 갑제주아시 콜이야 안지 그 강아세야레 맞아 그 춘녀바 제베네 디 고답지에디 디서 잠지게 삼단도 제도가 지 인생비 삼단도 쇠베냐네 다 되네기 셴례 펜버주야당 하는 아주 기회념래지 다디 빼야고르와 세베 소소 가옴디 무디니 지나 세베 삼다디 전주리 디 삼노디게 아주야 냠는지야래슈 펜고르와 지 전주도 셰래셔 다디네 아주 냠는 집이 qab을야 셈디 직삼다게 셈디 파 직조 가세갈 제형어서 중고를 제 남면리 지산 남면디게 파 까지 유지를 제지도 내비게 띵이전 주고 그래서 신내 주고 그래서 데네 둠네 데네 라통 다음에 봐도 베시라 파 다음에 봐 제바제 다음에 봐도 베시라 곰제 데네 냠네 제고래 디지도 다디 냠네 제야디 산조고 보토비 규디레 데서 냠네 제발레 데네 산조고 보토고래서 제자다 냠네 냠네 곰제스 데서 삼로디게도 제 방릉제네 소소게 야네야도 땅여도 아니 그지지네 니 직다니다도 니 삼로도 양시 코려야 되네 안 가슴 질이야 이디나 삼로도 코르지 가서 질이 제자디 샤레 네바 지기메 삼로도 이디나 코르되나 샤레 네바 집이 고급기네라야요 말봐 자 아주 샤레 네바 지기메 삼로 메디 니 직제고 선배 네바디 제고 선배 삼로 레용고라 레용도 내 샤레 네바 지고로 제자 디네에서 누시네 삼당 공부를 다 삼로 유어 따타로지 다 최기 송다기다 아주 람림나로 소바이나라 최주나로 소바이나다 다드슝디나 소바 다슝 차산나로 다 두시네 곰자탄 삼로 따타로 디로지 라브로 치코레 라바로 슈베네 데네 차고레
The main point of what we are looking at comes down to the following. As we look within and come to know ourselves better, understand our experiences, why they are as they are, we will come to recognize with ever more vivid clarity that our afflictions, minds such as anger and attachment, jealousy, pride, competitiveness, and so forth, these are what cause our suffering. Our suffering and our unhappiness is not caused by other people or circumstances. It's caused by these minds. To the extent we recognize this, to that extent we will be determined to abandon them, to gain freedom or liberation from these minds within. And how to do so? And that's the second part. So here comes the training of 6 different minds to cultivate within. And these 6, as well as the recognition and abandonment of those afflictions, is the summary meaning of every Buddhist text and every Buddhist teaching. Particular texts and teachings will emphasize or add detail to these various points, but this is the essential meaning of every teaching and every text. So the first part was the recognition of the role that the afflictions play in causing us suffering. They are our true enemies. The second part then is how to abandon them, which is through cultivating 6 virtuous qualities, 6 wholesome minds. The first is that of ethics, ethical restraint, where one restrains one's mind from coming under the influence of the afflictions and thereby doesn't harm others physically or verbally in any way. So this is often expressed through the mental determination, I will not harm others. I will not harm others. That mere expression would be at the starting point. Through one's meditation and knowledge, one will have a deeper understanding of what not harming others means. Moreover, to aid in not harming others, one takes vows and keeps committing to live well in accordance with those vows. And as one develops in skill, one's knowledge of restraint from the afflictions and living ever deeper in the vows grows. So this is first, that of ethics. The expression of I will not kill, I will not steal, I will not lie, I will not engage in sexual misconduct, I will not take intoxicants. And this needs to be developed with reasons, not just a mere expression of willpower, because to really transform our mind, we need to use reasons. And in this way, we'll, at an ever deeper level, want to refrain from harm. So that's the first, ethics. The second is generosity. This is the determination to help others wherever we can, in whatever way. Or to express it differently, generosity is the wish to give of ourselves, to help others in accordance with our ability. So here one generates the wish that where others have a need and I have capacity, I will help them. And where I lack capacity, I generate the determination to cultivate that capacity so that I can help them more. So here this is an expansive understanding of generosity. Because generosity, just like all of these practices, it's a mental training. It's not the mere giving of time or giving of material resources. It is the wish to give. And that may, where we can, be expressed physically. So this is the second training, that of generosity. Then the third is that of patience. This then is the determination, I will not harm others. Now how this differs from ethics is patience arises from training in love and compassion and wisdom. So the stronger our development, in particular of love and compassion, as well as wisdom, the more genuine our practice of patience is. Because patience is a mind that stays undisturbed in the face of adversity. And this adversity may well come from without, or it may come from our own troubled minds. And due to genuine love and compassion for all beings, one will not want to harm them. And through wisdom, one will understand their behavior, and one will be able to respond skillfully. So to generate love and compassion, it comes about on the basis of the prior trainings also of generosity and ethics. Because these are the minds that, ethics and generosity are the minds that say, I will not harm others, I will only help others. And this then is one's basis for developing the determination to become a Buddha for the sake of others, so that one can help others in every way possible. So therefore the generation of bodhicitta is also associated with that of generosity. And to generate bodhicitta, one generates love and compassion. So therefore these prior trainings of ethics and generosity serve as a basis for the generations of love and compassion, which are indispensable for patience. And the fourth training is that of joyous perseverance. So joyous perseverance is a mind that delights in engaging in virtue. So here one reflects on one's own spiritual training and rejoices in what one is doing, rejoices in one's endeavors, looks back at the day or the previous day and rejoices in one's successes. Moreover, one looks at what others are doing and rejoices in their good qualities, looking for good qualities in others. In this way, by looking for good qualities in others, one's training one's mind in recognizing the good within others, and this aids our love and compassion. And moreover, by rejoicing in our endeavors, this will spur us to continue to develop. We need to be aware of our spiritual development, because this will give us encouragement and confidence that I can do this. That these teachings that I hear about my incredible human capacity, all that I can achieve, I'm actually seeing it's true. I am refraining from harming others ever more. I am benefiting others ever more. So this is the fourth training, that of joyous perseverance. The fifth is concentration. So this is in our meditations, trying to keep our mind concentrated on the topic, drawing it back from the constant distraction, drawing it back. And slowly over time, this will be easier to do. Moreover, during our day, recalling what we meditated on. So recalling minds such as love and ethics and so forth, keeping those alive and fresh in us throughout the day. And then the sixth is that of wisdom, the wisdom realizing emptiness, or the wisdom realizing selflessness. So this is the training. This is the summary of what we have and will continue to look at, and is the summary of every Buddhist teaching you have ever received and all will ever receive. There's the first part, which is recognizing the faults or the afflictions and developing the determination to no longer be under their influence. And the second part is how to do so, the cultivation of wholesome minds. And this is the process of how we will all become Buddhas. It's exactly this. How we will attain the state of perfection, completely free from all problems and difficulties, and having the perfected capacity to help others, to make a meaningful difference in the lives of others. And how this comes about is through developing our habituation to wholesome ways of thinking and breaking our habituation to the afflictions. And so therefore, we need to engage in these reflections again and again. And this will bring about the transformation that we desire. Okay. So thank you very much. Then we'll conclude therefore this morning and continue this afternoon. Thank you.